StraightAllDay.com. Tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. What is that? That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is how to pitch anything. What do I mean by pitching and what I mean by how to pitch anything? I'm going to tell you how to pitch anything to anything. Yes, I am. I'm going to tell you what that means and how to do it in a moment. First, let me remind you or inform you that every day when I send out the daily motivation text, oh, you didn't know I had a daily motivation text? Let me tell you what it is. It is a text message going straight to your phone, free of charge every morning, that is guaranteed to help you start your day being focused, sharp, and on point. And every day when I send that message out, it only goes to a certain group of individuals. Let me tell you who these people are. These are the people who are members of my texting community. All you had to do to be a member of that texting community, if you are not currently a member, and you can ask a friend if you didn't know, they will confirm this is all you have to do. All you got to do is send a text message to my number, and I'll tell you the number. Here's the number, 305-384-6894. If you send a text to that number, you are going to get verified and entered into my texting community, which means every morning when I send out that daily motivation text, because you are a member of the community, you will receive the message along with everybody else who's a member of my texting community. Yes, it is that simple. Yes, this happens every single day. Yes, you will get that message for free. So all you got to do is text me right now at 305-384-6894. You'll be a member of my text community, and then tomorrow, when I send out the next daily motivation, because it is literally daily, you'll be getting that message. As simple as that. Now, here's the other thing you need to know. That text message, will take you about 10 seconds to read. What do you do for the rest of the day? What are you going to do the rest of your day after you start the day being focused, sharp, and on point? Some of you may understand, like I'm recording this right now at 3:44 p.m. Eastern time. I don't know about y'all, but it usually happens for me somewhere around 1:44 or 2:44. Even if you started the day being focused, sharp, and on point, you've been working all day, and depending on what time you start working. I start working relatively early compared to most people. By that time in the afternoon, whatever you got in that text message the effects of that might have worn off by that point. What do you do to make sure that you stay focused, sharp, and on point throughout your day? I would suggest you do something more than getting a text message, because text message can be a nice pick-me-up. And I'm gonna give you a great pick-me-up to start your day. But what about the rest of the day? What about having some real substantial reasons to be focused, sharp, and on point, and something to be focused, sharp, and on point on? How about that? I'm gonna tell you how to do that. I'm gonna solve that problem for you too. That is Work on Your Game University. Because in Work on Your Game University, here's what we're going to help you do. We're going to help you install what we call a bulletproof mindset. We're going to give you the business builder framework. We're going to give you the Work on Your Game system. And we're going to give you the next mission process to stay accountable, to make sure you are doing things on your personal life side and on your business life side in such a way that you're producing the results that you want to produce at the highest possible level. You're doing so consistently, and you're being held accountable to execute on them, so you're doing them consistently. If that sounds like a formula for what you want to have in your life and in your business right now, and I know it does, here's all you got to do. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com, and over there you'll be able to get on a call with us. You'll be able to get into the university. You can become a member. You'll be getting the 2 physical mailings we send every month called the Black Book and the Bulletproof Bulletin. If you're watching this on video, you can see the Black Book right there over my left shoulder behind me, and the Bulletproof Bulletin is kind of directly behind me. I send those out every month, new version of course every month, to every member of my university. Again, ask somebody who's a member, they'll tell you about those. And again, that's at workonyourgameuniversity.com. So with all that said, let's get into today's topic, which is how to pitch anything. Now, since we all know that we are in the sales business, your ability to pitch and sell and thusly move people to action on anything is a very important aspect of your ability to move forward, create, and sustain momentum, and as a result, get what you want in life. So what we're going to talk about here today is a framework for pitching anything, including and up to and including yourself. And when I say pitch just means for you to share with people what it is that you have going on and get them to be interested in what it is. Let me see if I can find a good definition of pitch, because I know it's not going to be the first definition, but it will. Let's see. Here it is, definition number 6. So sometimes you got to dig into these definitions to find the right the right version of the word that you're talking about. So definition of pitch is a form of words when trying to persuade someone to buy or accept something, aka a sales pitch. All right, so that's what pitch means. So if any of you is not familiar with that verbiage, now you know what it means. So today I'm going to tell you how to use your words to persuade anyone to do anything, including pay attention to and do business with you. Point number 1, today's topic once again is how to pitch anything. Number 1, create and hold the frame of the topic. You got to understand framing, and you want to create the frame and you want to hold the frame. I talked about framing in episode 2400 and episode 2401. I did a 2-part series on framing, the basics of it, and then the mechanics of how to make it work. And framing in a conversation does not have to be some complicated thing. If you're not familiar with the concept of framing, I'm gonna make it real simple for you. It does not have to be complicated. It can be complicated, but it doesn't need to be. Framing is simply you establishing what the conversation is about and why you are taking someone's time to speak. That's all you have to do. If you're pitching, that's the frame. Here's what this conversation is about, and here's why I'm taking your time to speak. If you ever watched the TV show Shark Tank, and if you're an entrepreneur, you should watch Shark Tank. Actually, you should watch Shark Tank no matter what you do, because it's a show about selling. And everybody in this life is a salesperson. Either you are good at selling or you are bad at selling. And Shark Tank is a show where you get to see a whole lot of case studies of both the good, the bad, the ugly, and the ridiculous when it comes to selling. And you see the kind of questions that people ask when they're considering or they're potential buyers. So they're considering buying or they're potential buyers. So that's why it's a good show for everybody to watch. The reason I'm bringing up Shark Tank is that when someone walks into the tank, for those who are not familiar with the show, it's a show where entrepreneurs come on. They walk into the studio where the show is happening. There are 5 sharks, and the sharks are just people who've made a whole lot of money in business. These are people with a lot of money that they want to use to invest in other people's businesses, and they're looking for businesses to invest in. So you basically earn your way onto the show for a chance to sell either your entire business or a percentage of your business to one of the sharks, or maybe a couple of the sharks if they do a joint venture, and they buy into your business. You get the capital, they get another business investment that they have a piece of, and everybody wins in this situation if you can convince one of them to buy into your business. And they find out what your business is, they ask you questions about the business, then they make a decision right there on the show. I mean, that's not exactly the entire deal. They go do their due diligence after the show is over, but that's the long and short of how it works. So those who've never seen the show, you should go watch it. So what happens when one of the entrepreneurs, these are the people who are pitching their business, walks into the Shark Tank? They walk in and there's 5 sharks just sitting there looking at them. And when the person walks in, the first thing they do is they greet the sharks and they say, here's who I am, here's the name of my company, and then they go into a brief pitch. And when I say brief, I mean like 90 seconds about what their business is and what it does. And that is a form of framing. I'm telling you who I am, here's what my business is, and here's what it does. And you have to understand something, because some people may think, well, look, if it's Shark Tank and the whole show is about sharing your business and getting them to buy into it, are you really framing if everybody's going to be doing that anyway? Yes, you are framing, because you have an option as to how you talk about your business. You can say whatever you want about your business. You can talk about it one way, you can talk about it another way, you can talk about it a 5th way, you can talk about it 13 different ways. So the way that you choose to frame your business and share what it's about plays a big part in how the sharks respond or don't respond to whatever it is that you're offering. So the framing matters a lot. So if I'm selling vacuum cleaners, for example, door to door, and I knock on your door, when you first answer the door, the first thing I'm going to say is, hi, my name is Dre, and I'm here to sell you a vacuum cleaner. Now, I may not say it in that exact verbiage, but that's the first thing I want to get out of the way. I want to let you know who I am, and I want to tell you why I'm knocking on your door. So framing is usually the first thing you should do in a conversation, so the person you're talking to knows why you are taking their time and what it is that you want. All right, they should know that from the very beginning so they can make a decision, or at least they know where you're trying to go with the conversation. So for you to be clear in framing, you need to be clear in your thinking. See, if you're not sure what you want, then you cannot communicate it. So you got to be clear when you're talking to people what exactly you want, so that they know where you're going before you say your next sentence. So when the entrepreneurs walk into the tank on Shark Tank, they say, hey, my name is Mike, and I have Emerald Donuts, and I'm asking for a 20% stake in my business in exchange for $100,000. So all the sharks now understand, all right, this guy's name is, they know his name is Mike. They know he has a donut business, whatever he's doing with donuts, who knows? We don't know yet. He's asking for a 20% stake on 100 in exchange for $100,000. So how much is he saying his business is worth? All you should be able to do this math in your head. That's a $500,000 business. He's saying his business is worth $500,000 because 20% of it is worth $100,000. So he's framing. That's the frame. Everybody get what I'm saying here? So you want to clearly set the frame of a conversation so whoever you're talking to knows where you're going and, again, what you are trying to get done in that conversation. Doesn't mean they're going to do it, but at least they know where you're going. And as long as you keep everybody on the same page, then you increase your likelihood that you can get what you want, or at least you can get a clear answer, even if the answer is no. One challenge that a lot of people have in communication is that your communication is so unclear, it is so murky that people are not quite sure what exactly you're saying or doing or what you want. Therefore, they can't say yes to you, rather. They cannot cooperate with you and work with you because they aren't quite sure what it is that you want. So you need to be very, very clear in your communication. Clarity is key in any form of communication. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is how to pitch anything. Number 2, get to the point. Now, framing is part of getting to the point, but you should be this concise, you should use this much brevity, and you should be this clear in everything that you say when you're pitching something. Because again, anywhere where people are confused, you are exponentially increasing the likelihood that you don't get what you want. Because when people are confused, again, they cannot cooperate with you because they don't even know what they need to do. And they don't even know what they're going to be doing, yet they say yes to you because they're not quite sure what it is that you're doing and what it is you're asking for. So you got to get to the point with clarity. So what is the point? This is a question. What is the point? See, the point is what the other person gets out of the conversation and their possible cooperation with you. That's the point. So I'm telling you what it is. So when I tell you to get to the point, this is what I mean. Be clear what the other person is going to get out of the conversation, and be clear what they will get out of their cooperation with you. So if you say, I want you to give me $100,000 for 20% of my business, well, they know what they're getting. They're getting to own 20% of a business, and they got to give up $100,000 of their own money. Now they're thinking everything that I say from that point forward. What are they thinking about? They're framing it. I've set the frame for them, so they're not making a frame. I made the frame and told them, okay, this is a $500,000 business. I'm going to explain to you why it's a $500,000 business. I'm explaining to you why you want to give me $100,000 so you can get 20% of what I got going on over here. I'm going to get straight into that point as soon as I start talking to you. When I open my mouth again, that's the next thing I'm going to say. So get to the point as quickly as possible. And you notice that this is in the first 2 sentences you can do this. Whenever you are pitching anything, including yourself, you need to make sure the other person knows that whatever you are saying is about what they get, not about what you get. It needs to be about what they get, not about what you get. Keep in mind, other people don't really care about what you get. I mean, they may know what you get. They may be able to infer what you get. Even people who are experienced in giving, receiving pitches, they will be able to read between the lines and get a feel for what you get. All right, the sharks understand if you ask for 20%, you ask for $100,000 for 20% of the business, they understand what you're getting. You're getting $100,000. And usually the sharks will ask the question, okay, if I give you $100,000, what are you going to do with the money? All right, so they already know you're going to get something. They understand that. Some people will ask about it. Some people won't. And if they don't understand, they usually will ask if you're pitching to somebody. Now, some amateurs will not understand. They also will not ask. With them, you don't need to tell them something because it doesn't really matter. Although you should be clear on what you get for yourself. You don't have to announce what you get, but you should be clear to yourself what you get. Otherwise, why are you even doing it? I mean, why make a pitch if there's nothing for you to gain? Most people don't do anything if there's nothing for them to gain. So at this point, really, I don't have to say it, but I'm saying it anyway. So getting to the point means getting right to what the other person gets. So you open up by saying, I want you to give me $100,000 for 20% of my business. Now, next thing you need to be talking about is what they're going to get out of it, which is usually in the Shark Tank, for example. That's the entrepreneur going into why their business is so great, why they're doing what they're doing, why it's unique, why it's different, why it's, somebody can't just come in and crush them and compete with them and just knock them out of the space, and why a shark would be smart to add their business to the shark's portfolio of companies. Point number 3, today's topic once again is how to pitch anything. Number 3, have a clear call to action. It's also known as CTA. If you ever see that phrase, CTA stands for call to action. And what a call to action means is that you want the other person to know what to do or you can tell them what you want them to do, and what needs to happen in order for you and them to move forward if they are interested in your proposition. So in sales, this part is called making an actual offer. You have to ask for the sale. If you're selling vacuum cleaners, let's say I'm selling vacuum cleaners door to door for my example that I gave here in point number 1, and now I'm sitting in your living room. I got into your house. I'm sitting in your living room. I gave you the whole pitch about my vacuum cleaner. At some point, I have to ask you, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, would you purchase this vacuum cleaner for $2,000 or however much the vacuum cleaner costs? I have to give you a call to action to get you to buy. If I don't give the call to action and you say, all right, well, thanks for coming, thanks for the presentation, and I never actually ask you to buy it, then it's not your fault that you didn't buy it. It's my fault because I didn't ask for the sale. It's my job as a salesperson to ask for the sale. The CTA is the call to action. And sometimes, everyone, when you give your call to action, the call is not always for someone to buy something. Sometimes there's another step that needs to be taken. If you're doing any type of, especially when you work in enterprise businesses, you're working with big companies where there's levels of bureaucracy, which means the person that you're talking to at first may not be the person who gets to determine whether a check gets written or not, which means you probably can't close them. You can't get them to buy whatever it is that you're selling, even if they want to, because they are not authorized to they're not authorized to spend the company's money. So they may have to go to another person who has to go to another person, and then that person can give the okay for you to make the money. So you may have to have more than one conversation. So your job would then, instead of trying to sell and get the money from the first person you talk to who's unauthorized to give you money, you may try to sell them on, okay, how do we get the next person in line on this conversation so that we can talk about this again. And that person might know the person, have the ear of the person who can actually cut the check, and then may have to have another conversation in order for me to get the money. Now, depending on how much money we're dealing with, you shouldn't have to do this too often, depending on how much you're asking for, and depending on what type of industry that you're in. But there are many businesses in which there had to be multiple conversations before anything actually happens. Any areas that are highly bureaucratic, this is usually the case. So that means governmental areas, medical areas, academic areas. This is usually where you get a good amount of bureaucracy, and you got to talk to one person who has to talk to another person who has to talk to another person. For example, I'll give you an example here. I had a guy reach out to me about a year, not even a year, about 9 months ago. And he said, Dre, I heard you on somebody's podcast. I like what you're talking about. I got this great idea of having you come and speak at an event that I'm having at my school. He worked at a college. And me and him had a conversation. Can we schedule a time to get on a call? We get on a call. He was cool. He liked my stuff. He had heard me. He was already predisposed to like me because he had already heard me on this podcast. So he liked the way that I was coming. And he said, well, here's the thing. And in principle, we were on the same page as far as what he wanted to do and all of that and how much it was going to cost and all of that. He said, well, here's the thing. I'm not the final decision maker here. I got to go through this guy and these other people here, and there's all these layers of people we got to go through in order to get something like this to happen, which I knew was the case because I've dealt with these situations before. So then we had to get on another call. And there was 2 other people on the call in addition to the person who initially found out about me, and they had to kind of vet me and rubber stamp what they wanted to do, and there was all these other steps that had to happen before the thing happened. The whole point being, my call to action when talking to this first guy, I didn't even have to bring this up. He brought it up. My call to action with him wouldn't have been, all right, well, this is the fee. You want to pay? You want me to come or not? That's not the question to ask because he was not qualified to write the check. But he was qualified to get the people who could write the check interested in me. That was what my call to action should have been focused on if I was given one, simply because I knew his position. So you got to know the situation of the people that you're dealing with. Sometimes you're dealing with the person who is the check writer. Ideally, you always want to be dealing with the check writer. That's the person who can give you money if you're doing any type of pitching in business. You want to be talking to the person who can give you the money, not the person who works for the person who can give you the money, and not the person who works for the person who works for the person who can give you money, the person who can actually give you money. So you have to give people an option of what to do and what needs to happen in order for them to move forward if they're interested. Do you want them to schedule a call with you? Do you want them to give you money right now? They need to go get somebody else and bring them into the conversation. If you're talking to a husband, does he need to get his wife? You're talking to a wife, does she need to get her husband involved? You're talking to a manager, does he need to get his manager involved? What's the situation? And then, what are you asking for? What is the ask that you are making of whoever you gave your call to action for? What are you asking them to do in a specific way? Many salespeople fail at this point because of their fear of either rejection. They just fear somebody telling them no. the fear of asking for something from another person, because some people have grown up with these scarcity mentalities that you can't ask anybody else for anything. You should be able to get everything that you want on your own accord and with your own efforts and by your own volition, which is usually the least effective and slowest way to get anything done. Or maybe how much you're asking. Some people are held back by how much they're asking for. So if you're used to selling your products for $50 and then I say, well, look, you're going to sell the same product for $5,000, it may be hard for you to ask for that amount of money simply because your money mindset does not allow you to ask for the money. It's not because people won't give it to you, it's because your money mindset is in your way and slowing you down from asking for what you want. So it can be rejection, it can be asking for something from another person, it can be how much you're asking for. Also going to be your belief in your ability to receive the thing. Do you actually believe that you are capable of receiving this new car? Do you believe that you're capable of receiving this amount of money? Do you believe that you're capable of receiving this job opportunity? Do you think you're actually capable of it? Do you think you're worthy of it? Is actually a better word than capable. Are you worthy of this outcome that you are asking for, or you're supposed to be asking for according to your script? Now, if you go off the script, that's a different conversation. But these things are all part of the call to action, and that call to action, that ask, has a lot to do with your posture. The way that you ask, not just what you ask for. What's the way that you ask? What's the energy behind your ask? Do people believe you? Does the person that you ask, you give your call to action to, believe that you believe you should actually get a yes? If you're selling a program for $5,000, you believe somebody should pay you $5,000 for your program. What about $10,000? What about $50,000? What about $100,000? At what point do you get nervous? And you need to work on these things, because if your energy is coming off as unsure and less than confident about yourself, then you're going to make other people unsure and less confident about you at the same time, because you're projecting that energy out. So that clear call to action, again, the more clear you are, the easier it will be to communicate things, and the more confidently usually come across, because you don't have to remember anything. You got your points clear in your head to the point that you don't need notes or anything like that. And the points are so simple that people can not only hear it, but they can remember it. With all that said, let's recap today's class, which is how to pitch anything. Since we all know we're in the sales business, your ability to pitch and sell and move people to action is a very important aspect of your ability to move forward. So let's talk about how to do it. Number one, create a framework. Create and hold the framework of your topic, the frame of the topic. It doesn't have to be framework, the frame of the topic. This is you simply saying, here's who I am and here's why I'm here. Here's who I am, here's why I'm here. My name is Mike. I work for the Dallas Mavericks, and I'm calling about selling you season tickets for the 2023-2024 basketball season. What is that person doing? They are framing why they are calling. Framing is the first thing you should do in a conversation, because it lets people know what you want, who you are, and actually those are the only two things they need to know. Who you are and what the hell do you want. Number two, get to the point. What is the point? The point is what the other person gets out of the conversation and what they get out of their possible cooperation with you. You want to get to the point as quickly as possible. And most people who are experienced in giving and receiving pitches can read between the lines of what you get. Sometimes they will ask you directly, well, what do you get out of all this? If they ask, you better be ready to answer. All right. And some people you may not need to tell them, because they can see it on their own. They don't need you to explain it. You don't have to come out with this unless they ask. Number three, have a clear call to action. That means what you want the other person to do and what has to happen in order for you and that other person to move forward if they are interested in your proposition. They need to get on a call, they need to go to your website. Should they give you money right now? They need to pull out their credit card. What do they need to do? And many people are afraid of giving clear calls to action because they're afraid of rejection. They're afraid of asking for stuff. They're afraid of what you're asking for, and then just a lack of a belief in your ability to receive a thing, or some combination of all the above. All that said, text me so you can get my daily motivation for free every morning. My direct number is 305-384-6894, and workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's the place where you go to work with me, be coached by me, get access to our deepest frameworks on mindset, strategy, systems, and accountability, and get on live coaching calls directly with me where I answer your questions and your challenges right there on the spot, live on live calls, members only. Workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all day.